This post speaks to consent and boundaries. She posted this in the Am I the A-hole subreddit saying, "My husband needs to touch my breast to fall asleep. I'm exhausted and need a divorce. Am I the a-hole?" If she is exhausted for whatever reason and she brings it up with her husband and he disregards it or just doesn't pay attention or doesn't care, then obviously no, you're not the a-hole. All right, she says throwaway because my main has some personal info and pretty much what the title says. Okay, so the woman is 26, the husband is 30. She says, "My husband and I have been together for 5 years and he needs my breast to fall asleep. Every single day he goes to bed around 10:30 or 11 something and calls me over when I'm not even feeling sleepy just so he can touch my breast for his own sleep. From the very beginning of our relationship, he's had this habit. At first, I thought it was kind of cute, kind of endearing sometimes, and I don't mind it. But ever since we've been married, it has become suffocating. It gets worse with no matter what position I try to sleep in, he always reaches for me. If I turn away, he'll spoon me and still find a way. If I push his hand away or say I'm not in the mood to be touched, he either whines like I'm depriving him of something essential or gets genuinely upset. He claims it helps him relax and fall asleep, but I feel like I'm just an emotional support object at this point, like like she's a blankie or something. I've tried compromising and suggesting that he hold my hand, cuddle a pillow, or even just rest his hand on my stomach. Instead, nope, it has to be my breast or he just can't sleep. And if I try to set boundaries, he makes me feel guilty, saying things like, "So now you don't love me anymore," or "This is a normal thing between partners." This has been wearing on me for years, but lately I just dread going to bed. I feel like my body isn't even mine in my own home. The main reason this makes me so mad is because this is the only form of affection I get from him. Forget cuddles or random kisses. He doesn't even give me a hug. A hug. The last time I got a hug, the last time I got one was on my birthday, and that was a year ago. He only needs my boobs. I finally snapped last week after a long day when he reached me for me again, and I told him I can't live like this anymore. He got angry and accused me of being dramatic and said I was threatening our marriage over something so small. But to me, it's not small, it's constant daily violation of my comfort. It definitely sounds like that. What makes this even worse for me is the fact that my husband does nothing to help me at home. He goes to work at 8, I go at 5. He comes back by 5 p.m., I come back at 7. From 7 p.m. to 12, I have to make up for all the chores at home, cooking, cleaning, laundry, etc., while he plays some games in his room. On weekends, he doesn't even help me. He refuses to do anything. So naturally, I have to make up for being the bigger person. And when it's time for him to fall asleep, he calls me over just to touch my breast, while I have to wait it out until he sleeps so I can go back to housework. He doesn't lift a finger. I know this sounds stupid and ridiculous. I probably sound like a whiny child venting, but I can't anymore. I called my sister, who I'm closest to, and told her everything. She said that I'm weird for divorcing over something like this. I called my best friend of a decade, and she said that she understands me, but divorce is just overblown. I'm going crazy. I don't even know if I'm being so ridiculous at this point. I don't even know how to bring this up to my mom, mother in law, or anyone at all. I feel like an a hole for considering divorce over something like this. Am I the a hole? Will people even take me seriously? The thing is, like both of these situations could have been enough to divorce. Like the constant overstepping of boundaries, not hearing consent. Like this is what she does not like with her own body. At first, she gave consent, and now she's saying she doesn't like it. So she has pulled consent. And then the not participating in the household, not doing any chores, just being the servant, like all of this that she put at the back of the post, that could be enough right there to also get a divorce over. Women are tired of being just simply a servant, and this is enough. No, you're not an a-hole for this. She kind of buried this at the bottom. This could have literally been at the top. So, ladies, it's perfectly fine to have boundaries. It's perfectly fine to change consent on something that's being done to your body. And yeah, we are not servants. We are not simply here to be the servants of the home. And from the way she's talking, she's she's been with him for 5 years. She's only 26. So obviously she's taken up, most of her 20s with him. So she needs to figure out if this is what she's planning on doing. Is she going to stay with this man or not? Because this definitely sounds exhausting. AC says, babe, you're not divorcing him over the weird boob thing. Admittedly, very weird. You're divorcing him because he's a 30-year-old man child who doesn't give you affection, doesn't help around the house, and whines when you give him feedback of any sort. The boob thing is just a weird thing you're going to laugh about with your girlfriends after you leave this weirdo. Queen Be Damn says, I was looking for this comment. I have to fully agree here. It's not just the weird boob thing, it's that none of your needs in this relationship are being close to being met. Exactly. Train of what says, well said. Calling it small is such a common way to isolate events that aren't truly isolated. It's daily. I'd rather have a knife cut me once than a razor blade stuck in my hand forever. She's totally valid in it just being about this one thing. Somebody whining at you for depriving them of your body nonstop for their own comfort alone, literally objectifying you. That's enough to completely erode trust and comfort. But of course, it's not just the one thing. It's the boob thing and no physical affection and clearly no emotional intimacy, no emotional support, no ability to express boundaries. But he demands you do all that for him. The boob thing is just the perfect microcosm of it all. Plus, it just sounds gross and infuriating. I raised my baby brother for 6 years. He had this habit of needing to wrap his hands in my hair, shuffling it around his hand and shuffling around his fingers, pulling at it for an hour or more just so he could fall asleep. I let him do it because he was a baby. And even then, I was eventually internally seething in frustration, not at him, at the situation. He was my brother, and my parents were making me raise him. I cannot imagine what it would be like for a grown man, ostensibly incapable of conscious understanding, seemingly in love with you, to demand my breast every night nonstop. I would lose it way sooner. Yeah, this is just not, I just can't comprehend this one. My Solar says, I think it's partially about the boob thing. It's about how she isn't allowed to say no. It's the constant violation of her consent, and she's made to feel like she's a bad person for being upset that she's being violated. If you want to be blunt about it, he's SAing her nightly and acting as if she's the unreasonable one. It's the cherry on top of the what the F cake. Exactly. And Antique Care says, yes, this. If you are happy in your marriage, I guess you wouldn't mind this weird quirk. Even might find it cute, like you did earlier in your relationship. I love your little hat says, I can't imagine the boob thing would be enough to divorce if the other issues weren't there. Here's the OP chiming in. She says, I tried suggesting so many things, but he just wants my boobs. He says I cannot sleep otherwise. He's not ready to compromise at all. He calls me over when he's ready to sleep, and I have to stay there, mummified, until he falls asleep. Half of the time he wakes up if he notices I'm gone, which is why I try to finish the housework way earlier. That would get annoying. This person says, fine, so he doesn't sleep then. Let him do the housework that will wear him out. And then she says, he doesn't do housework. If he had done it, then I wouldn't be complaining like this. He spends his free hours doing things he likes. If I stop doing the work, then I get yelled at and he becomes upset, which is the reason I do it. He expects me to cook, clean, and to be there when he calls me. Yeah, this does not sound sustainable. Imagine if there were kids involved. This is an absolutely not. He complains, he fusses that she's not cleaning, and she has to be there to be the blankie, the plushie, the pillow. This is absolutely not. Definitely, I can understand why she's talking about divorce. It is bigger than the boob thing. Anyways, y'all join the conversation. Let me know what you think about this one. Don't forget to like, comment, and share.